Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
It's been a while since we've gotten together for an edition of Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane. We have not had any irreconcilable differences that have caused that. It's just been the circumstances of life in 2020. We all know about that, and we'll talk about that a little bit on today's edition. But we have some fun things for you, maybe some recommendations of things you can enjoy as the holidays ensue, maybe a nice present or two. And, of course, we'll also talk about the sounds of the holidays and whether we are over-inundated with them and some of our favorites and things like that. So there are a lot of things on the table, and I won a little award last month, so we'll get to talk about that. I don't often get to join my highly accomplished wife in something, but I did in this particular case with her assistance, of course. All those things are on the table today. We'll have fun with it. We always do, right here on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions, and another edition of Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from no-nonsense-healthcareninja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's become a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting no-nonsense-healthcareninja.com and let Chad help you. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back, and I get to start off with a little pat on the back and a thank you, actually, as the Reasonably Irreverent podcast last month was entered in completely by my highly accomplished wife. Competition for a PRISM Award, the Public Relations
Society of America.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I won a silver medal, silver award, silver trophy, whatever it's called, second place, in other words. And I really was kind of proud to do that. It was my first entry in there. And I think the thing that made me happiest about it is the fact that the judging was not done by people who would really have much of an idea who I was.
Well, and again, you won for your podcast.
Right.
So that's the cool part about this. And the judges were out of another state.
Mississippi,
I believe. And so you won second place for Best Podcast. So that was really an exciting time.
It was indeed, but you've won multiple PRISM Awards in the past for your great work at Venice Communications, your public relations firm. And you must be proud, and they're really neat-looking awards, and they're nice things to put up in the office. We each have one. Well, I have one. You have multiple ones in your office. And how did you win?
They base everything on results, and that, so data is key to any event or campaign. We won for Berkeley Riverfront a few years ago, and that was all focused on the PR launch campaign and the number of bodies we were able to get out and the amount of media coverage. So that was really, really, really fun. But your numbers on podcasting are really great, and they love your content. So that's fun.
It is fun, and that's enough about that. Let's move on to, we're approaching the end of this highly irregular and awful year, but I think the narrative throughout the year has been, 2020, it's a disaster, it's awful. Well, now we know that it's just not going to be able to be chalked up, unfortunately, for 2020. When the ball drops before an empty Times Square on New Year's Eve, we are not going to get some magic pixie dust that is going to solve all the problems, but at least maybe we seem to be growing a little bit closer to some sort of normalcy.
Yeah, it's going to be really... The good news is there's some hope because of the vaccine, and obviously the UK has opened it up for people to get the first of these vaccines in the entire world, and it looks like it's coming faster than it was originally planned. So I think probably every month we're going to be maybe seeing a slight uptick as to when we can see a window of opportunity for people to be able to at least gather in small groups again, hopefully by the second half of 2021.
Maybe by the spring, maybe by when the weather is breaking, we'll be able to do some things together. What will be required to, what we'll want to do as far as following things are concerned. I know I was at something yesterday, a marketing meeting, and somebody was talking about the fact that, he had thought that people were doing a pretty good job with their masks. And I said, well, they weren't until they were told to. I mean, I think we were doing a half-decent job, but only when people were required to wear them to enter a store did I think we really start doing a good job. And I don't even think we've ever really gotten to doing a good job. But that being said, we do hope that as 2020 comes, we can get back to a little bit more normal things. And one thing that's normal at this time of year is when you're in a store or you're in a mall or you're driving around in your car, you can, unless you try to avoid it, get overindulged in Christmas music. I'll start with me. I like Christmas music, but I really only like it a few days before Christmas and on Christmas. When I was a runner, I used to run on Christmas Day, and and just by natural happenstance, all the songs that went through my head on Christmas Day were all Christmas songs. I don't know how that happened. I don't know what it was, but that was the case. I have my favorites. I have songs that I don't like. Most rock and roll Christmas songs are bad. But the Beach Boys have done a couple good ones, whatever. So my connection generally is good, but circumstantially, I've been in a lot of places recently where I've heard a lot of Christmas music. And one thing I've noticed is that I don't know if it's the best one, but clearly either the most popular or the most recorded or whatever is I'll Be Home for Christmas, because I literally sometimes have heard that 4, 5, 8 times in a day just going around by different artists and everybody else. I think it's an okay song. It's not one of my favorites. I like Sleigh Ride, which isn't even really a Christmas song. Let It Snow. There's a few that I like, but what are your general thoughts about Christmas music? And you've got some good stories about it because obviously you're a singer.
Well, I kind of get way overloaded listening to Christmas music on the radio. Of course, Sirius Satellite helps out. You can jump away. So that's the good thing. But, I love traditional ones like Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. I mean, that's a great Mel Torme one that is just beautiful. But when I was singing at Lyric Opera of Chicago, all of us, starving artists, we worked a lot as we had little caroling going on. We had quartets. And we would be like all over the Michigan Avenue, Magnificent Mile, all the malls, Saks Fifth Avenue. We were hired on multiple retail type places. And so I've sung everything known to man. And we had a blast.
How was that? It was the 80s. So how was it the 80s or late 80s and 90s? Yeah. So anyway, how was the money?
It was good. They really, really paid us well. And so those are always great gigs to get for additional cash when you're starving at the opera. And they were great voices. We were really good. And so that's what the expectation is in large cities. They will pay you well, not only as a professional soloist in churches, but those kind of gigs. And it seems to be more prevalent in large cities.
What was the reception like from people? And what styles did you sing in? You're an opera singer by trade, by training. You really seldom stray into a pop sound, but it's not always purely operatic. What kind of style did you sing?
Most of them actually were traditional because we were singing traditional music with professional opera singers. But once in a while we would jazz up a few pieces, even Drummer Boy, you can do a little bit uniquely, even though that got a little tiring. But, the good news is, they would stop. That was the point of it. You're trying to get people to stay in the stores and buy, retail. But it's also a wonderful way to make people feel good. People feel good. They like to shop.
That's absolutely true. I will say, hopefully you didn't have to do this very much, but with good voices, something can be done with this. But whoever cursed us with the 12 days of Christmas, that's got to be the worst thing that I have. It's just so bad and so long and so repetitive. And maybe Bing Crosby has a version of it that I think is maybe okay, but I mean, it's just the only ones I've ever heard that are any good are the ones that are designed as a joke, that they change the lyrics and so on and so forth.
I know. It's like an early rap song in a way. It's like an endless sort of rap song about. I mean, it's fun for the kids. I think the kids really enjoy it. I like things like unusual pieces from famous holiday movies like Snow, 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 with Rosemary Clooney and Bing Crosby and White Christmas. I mean, those things are those are fun. I like listening and watching those versions compared to some of the more jingly type stuff that's on radio.
Yeah, and it seems like, unfortunately, those are the things that become a little bit popular and are, I think people generally in the holidays, they like familiarity. They like repetition. They like things that are, they want to have a turkey or they want to hang up the same stockings. Or I think there's some of that. And you were talking about the singing in the malls and everything. I wonder that probably for people in your profession or younger people maybe who are now living in Chicago, and that's got to have been, well, not only by COVID, but by online shopping and everything. I would imagine that there's probably not nearly as much of a market for that.
Well, one thing carolers are doing and other choral groups are doing is they're safe distancing. I even know some church, caroling groups, they find ways to do this where they're safe distance. Some are still wearing masks if they do this indoors, and they just stay away from people but still try to create the music. They're doing a lot outside, more outside than inside is what I understand.
Right. And there's a difference, I guess, between Christmas carols and Christmas songs. That's so maybe carols probably are the more traditional ones. And of course, I think I've mentioned this certainly on a podcast. I've written blogs about it or everything else, but I do like many things Christmas. And one of the musical endeavors for Christmas was the musical that was done for Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, which is one of my favorites. And speaking of traditions, I pretty much watch it every year. I don't know if we'll do it this year because my daughters aren't going to be around, and they actually ask me to watch it. And it's Jim Backus and Broadway. I mean, I just I just love that. And everybody has their the rifle. The one with the boy gets the rifle, and everybody has their things that they really really enjoy. But it centers around traditions and repetition. And unfortunately, I think one thing that's been really hurt is that I think Thanksgiving is a wonderful holiday. There's no pressure, as it were. Presents aren't exchanged. You're not dressing up in costumes. But it seems like because Halloween has become such a popular thing, maybe among younger people too, and then because retail, they want you to spend money at Christmas, we kind of have lost Thanksgiving a lot. And I think the real reason is the fact that there's no monetization of Thanksgiving except for food. I mean, for corporate America, you're not going to make a bunch of money on Thanksgiving. So I think we've kind of, they roll out the Christmas ads basically as soon as Halloween is over. And it used to be whenever Thanksgiving was over, and I think that's kind of a shame.
Well, I think traditionally, originally, the three wise men came bearing gifts, and that's where this thing all got started from more of a biblical perspective, and something happened where, but giving gifts is a feeling of gratitude. It's supposed to be, but only in a capitalistic society would we turn it into what it has become today. But that's what I love about Thanksgiving also, is that it is we just sit down and we're thankful for many, many things, and it simplifies it. I kind of like it the way it is.
Right. And this year, many thanks to your sister, we were really going to simplify. The idea was that just gather, we'll have a little dessert, we'll be distant, it'll be a smaller group, everything else. But darned if she couldn't help herself, and she really churned out a full-blown meal. And, I was kind of ruining the fact that, I was on the radio on Wednesday instead of Friday like I usually am with Summer and Petro. And I was saying, well, we're not going to do a Thanksgiving meal. And I made a joke of the fact that, obviously my favorite in the run-up to Thanksgiving, whenever he has a guest on, Saran, he will, in his Final Four, which he does with many guests, one of the questions he always asks is, what's your favorite Thanksgiving side dish? And so I told him to tell the producer, because he works remotely from home, that I know that I will be able to tell you a side dish that nobody has ever said, and you'll laugh at me. So it'll be comedic, because my favorite side dish for Thanksgiving is turnip. And I'm probably if I'm not the only person whose favorite side dish is turnip, there can't be many of them.
It also can be named rutabaga.
Yeah, well, it's not in my world. And it's also more orange, the way I grew up eating it, than it is sort of a clear color. And to my beautiful bride's credit, she has on a few occasions hacked away at what is a very difficult thing to even cut apart to then mash.
A few times, let me say. It's more than a few times in the last 20 years. Yeah, he loves it. It's like your healthy mashed potatoes. We didn't do the turnip.
No, I don't
time.
think Emily really knows that.
No,
which
she
is
does.
your sister.
She does. She didn't have enough room in her convection oven. She needed another oven, so she.
It was fine. What we had was absolutely delicious and delightful. So we had a good Thanksgiving, and thanks to her, she upped the ante more than she even said she was going to. So. A little rumination on Christmas music. I know you have your thoughts. Maybe it'll start a little discussion about what you like, what you don't like. If anybody out there likes the 12 Days of Christmas, well, I can't help you. But maybe we can help you with a couple of recommendations for some fun things we've been doing recently as far as the cinema and relaxing together. And that comes your way next on Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the pure gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new smart laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
It's time to visit once again with Dr. Brad Woodle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. And Dr. Brad, your group has reached a significant milestone in receiving a prestigious award.
Danny, we've been honored for the 10th year in a row to receive the 5-Star Service Award from Integrity Doctors. And what this means is that all of our offices throughout Kansas City have made sure to give people excellent chiropractic and acupuncture care, be on time, and do a very complete and thorough job, and have great responses back from patients.
I know firsthand because I was just treated, for instance, today by you. You have a wide range of fantastic services.
Absolutely. Chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapies, rehab, anything that you need to keep you well in bones, muscles, joints, and nerves.
And I can't say how much it's benefited me in the time I've coming here. Upwards of 2 years, my back has improved 100%. And you can have that same kind of treatment too. For more information and your chance for a healthier way of life, visit asfca.com/Danny today. Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from RecExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit RecExpert.com and learn more. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlingscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and we've had a little treat the last couple of days. Oftentimes our evenings consist of I'm doing a few chores and whatever, and Jane settles down before I do, and then I'll come downstairs, and sometimes she'll be watching, many times she'll be watching an old movie, and I'll pick it up because I've seen all of these movies. She's seen most of them, but is enjoying them again, and then we play out the rest of the film, and I'm really thrilled to do it. Sometimes I say, hey, we've seen that 50 times, let's not do it. But the last 2 nights has been just fantastic because we got to revisit films that we're very familiar with and completely different ones. But 2 nights ago, we watched you watched the whole thing, but we watched the first of the Thin Man movies, which was the second movie which William Powell and Myrna Loy played together of 13. There were 6 Thin Man movies. They ended up making 13 movies together. They very much enjoyed each other's company. They were never romantically involved, although much of the public thought they were because they had such a natural ease together. Myrna Loy was once quoted as saying that, I think we were too much alike to ever get romantically involved. But anyway, The Thin Man is just a delightful series of movies. Actually, for New Year's Eve, the movie after The Thin Man, which is the second one, is set on New Year's Eve, a part of the movie. But the first one was made in 1934, and they only were allowed to do she was only allowed to do the movie if they could make it in 3 weeks. Well, the director of the movie is W.S. Van Dyke, who is known as One Take Woody, and they made this movie, this fantastic detective/comedy film, in 16 days. But it's really a fun film. And if you haven't seen any of the films, many people are familiar with them. But first of all, I don't know if people still do this, but the 6 Thin Man films create a fantastic gift as a box set, which we received from some friends a few years ago, and we watched them all, and it was one of the best gifts we've ever gotten. But just a little synopsis of what goes on. William Powell plays not the Thin Man. That's actually the person he was trying to track down in the first one. But he plays Detective Nick Charles. His wife is Nora Charles, and he is a now retired detective because he married Nora, and she's got all gobs of money. And basically, all these people do is socialize and drink, but he always gets, in the movies, hoodwinked into getting into a case, usually with her prodding, basically, even though she acts. But the two are so great. She acts a little bit frustrated with him from his days as a detective. He has all kinds of ne'er-do-well friends from the past, many who've been in jail and so on and so forth. It's a rogues gallery of people that don't fit in at all with her, although she's really more down to earth than it seems. I mean, there are so many delights in this film, and for people who think, my God, how could I ever watch a movie from 1934, and, the series went to the mid-40s, you should just try, because it's just funny. William Powell is one of the most relaxed and best deliverers of dialogue in the history of film, and the chemistry between the two of them and their little dog is unbelievable. I just love these films.
Oh my God, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's kind of like us, that's what's not surprising. If anybody has a dog and how you relate to a dog in your relationship, that's all there. But they just have this repartee. They're always goading each other and jibing each other, but it's all out of love. And there's double entendre in a way. In 1934, it doesn't happen anymore because the codes have all gone to hell in a handbasket. And that's what's so fun about this. They're oohing and cooing at each other in a very
semi-innocent way.
Very playful way. And then the dog comes in and out, and they make the dog as much a character as anyone else in the films.
The dog is named Asta in the films. His real name in real life is Skippy, and he was one of the most famous cinema dogs at a time when dogs were making $3.50 per day for their participation in cinema. Skippy was making $250 a week in Depression-era money, which that is big money right then. So his owner and handler obviously was doing quite well. This particular first film concludes with a very funny scene for Asta, which I won't give away as a spoiler. But the thing about the films that's funny that most people will really enjoy, I think, is the fact that Nick Charles drinks more than any person ever really could.
I know. I've never seen one person have. I bet it's in the Guinness Book. It should be. He's drinking constantly, and somehow he makes it seem like it's all right, and everyone else should be doing the same thing. And there's something wrong with them if they don't.
Right, and but he can handle his liquor. But the good thing is that they don't act. He's never a sloppy drunk, but William Powell has an incredible knack for for his various light stages of drunkenness. Sometimes he's sober as a judge when they get up, which is normally 4 o'clock in the afternoon or later. Sometimes he's a little tipsy. Sometimes he's a little more drunk. Sometimes he's hungover. But it's just always comedic and light. But part of the joy of it is that she's always sort of kind of trying to keep him from grabbing another drink.
Well, one thing I noticed and I love looking at set design. I think I'm a closet set designer. And I noticed in 1934, the glasses are smaller. So, 5 martinis is not the same as 5 martinis normally now.
Right.
And so that's something to keep in mind.
And William Powell, by the way, does have a Kansas City connection. He was born and raised in Pittsburgh, but at age 15, he moved to Kansas City, and he went to Center High School and graduated from Center High School, then went to New York. And fame and fortune, he became famous even in the silent pictures before he made one of the actors who made the very best transitions to talking pictures, and, of course, was a famous actor well into the 1950s. I think he died in the late 1950s. But just a wonderful actor, and the thing that's amazing about the fact that he became famous making silent pictures is that his beautiful speaking voice and articulation is just wonderful. It's amazing that that was lost in the time he was making silent pictures.
One thing, younger people, if you do decide to go on and try to, sample any of these Thin Man movies, he's not necessarily, he doesn't look like a heartthrob necessarily. And I think when I first was introduced to him, I wasn't that overwhelmed when I was younger. But now when I watch him, I just find him he's so alluring in an odd way because he's so natural. Such a natural performer and a twinkle in his eye at all times.
And the very first scene in the very first movie here's the story of it. He was told by the director, W.S. Van Dyke, to just grab a cocktail shaker, wander over to the bar, and they were just going to get the lighting and the sound and everything. It wasn't supposed to be, he was not supposed to be doing a scene. Okay. So he just does that, and he wanders around and does a little whistling and does some mannerisms and whatever. And then he finishes doing that, and Van Dyke goes, "Cut, print it." And he didn't even know that they were going to do it. And the other thing he always did is he never brought Myrna Loy onto the set for her scenes until the very last minute. He wanted her to be sort of surprised by the fact that she had to act at that point in time. And he's really a wonderful director, and these films are just an absolute... And she's a delight. She's beautiful. She's natural. She makes you want to marry her.
She's very understated.
Yeah, and she's funny, but she's a perfect foil, and they're just absolutely delightful films. I can't recommend them more highly. They're just fun, and if I'm not so sure I would want to have a cocktail with someone who would not enjoy one of these particular movies. And then last night we watched a completely different film, which is Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock's movie from 1954 with Jimmy Stewart. He breaks both of his legs badly and is confined to a wheelchair, and so he can't do anything. And so he's sitting in his New York apartment, which is sort of one of those squares where there's a courtyard in between, and you can see everybody's the back window, rear window of everybody's apartment. And he witnesses what he believes to be a murder. And that's the whole story, with him sitting there as a voyeur, really, to all these people, a lady who was a dance instructor, a Lonely Hearts woman, all these different particular stories. Yeah, Miss Torso is one of them, right? And his friend, girlfriend, eventually, whatever, is Grace Kelly, and she's impossibly beautiful. And I'm not the biggest Alfred Hitchcock fan in the world, although one of my very favorite movies of all time is the first movie that he made in America, which is Rebecca, which I can highly recommend. But I really like this movie. There's a lot of fascination in it. Raymond Burr plays the person who he suspects of murder, and he's outstanding, and he basically doesn't speak the whole film, most of the film. It really is a very interesting movie on just a variety of levels.
Well, what's really interesting is they mentioned that they actually bought all 14 of those apartments in order to film it the way they wanted to and have complete access. And what I love is the choreography between Jimmy Stewart's reactions to what he's seeing, to what you're seeing with all of these people. They're really doing a lot of pantomiming all the people that live in these other apartments.
Because he's viewing them through either binoculars or a camera lens.
Yeah, telephoto camera lens. And it's fascinating how this was shot. I'd love to have been on set to see how they sequence setting up these shots. It's riveting, and most of it relies on Stewart's reactions, his fear of what he's seeing, and the editing. between looking at what's going on in the different apartments he's looking at and his reaction, there's not a lot of dialogue. Fascinating.
And that's kind of perfect for Grace Kelly, who I don't, there's always a blonde, basically, especially as time went on in Alfred Hitchcock's movies, be it Tippi Hedren or Janet Leigh, whoever it becomes. And in this case, it's Grace Kelly. Like I said, just almost so beautiful that she's so perfect looking that it's almost like, it's like Halle Berry, sort of a version. She's an African American version of Grace Kelly, and Grace Kelly doesn't have to do much on camera, but I think she's good at what she does and doesn't do.
Well, I think she knows, who she is, and in this circumstance, they deliberately have her dressed to the nines. They've got the Hitchcock swirl bun. I call it a cyclone bun. That this really tight, rigid, almost weird. I think the whole goal for him was the unveiling of someone who's so perfectly put together, and how they sort of unravel the woman. It's very unusual. Right.
And she has some back, I'll say that.
She has some back.
She has a beautiful back, and back is the whole riding thing in this overriding thing. And of course, most people are skeptical of Jimmy Stewart and don't think that this is going on, and he has difficulty getting the police involved. And on a whodunit level, it's very, very interesting. But there's all kinds of things, from the cinematography, as you said, to the set design, to the little characters, and the undercurrent of the fact that probably what he's doing is a little weird, but it's Jimmy Stewart, so he's allowed.
That's right. And there's a backdrop of this relationship and how she starts getting more, what's the word? Willing to stretch her wings to show him that she can be rather adventurous, because that's what he's fearful of, her being too much of a cosmopolitan girl instead of a somebody who gets their feet wet.
I forget at the actual intro, because I didn't see the start of the film again today. How did they get together? I forget now.
I can't remember.
Oh, we didn't see the start.
No, I did see the start, but I don't know if it says specifically.
It doesn't really matter. Okay. It doesn't matter, but they're in typical fashion. They're friends, and they're obviously getting more romantically involved. And towards the end, it's quite obvious what's going on, but subtle again. And to me, it's one of after Rebecca, it's probably my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie. And so there's a couple of holiday things for you, and maybe introductions to, I don't know if anybody needs an introduction to Alfred Hitchcock, but many people probably need an introduction to The Thin Man, and those are two of our favorites. So happy holidays from us.
Bye.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.